Your financial safety net is essentially worthless. I do not care if you followed every piece of conventional wisdom and set aside 3 to 6 months of living costs in 2026. That is not genuine protection. That is a false sense of security that will vanish the moment a real crisis arrives. The rulebook changed and nobody rewrote it, which means millions of people believe they are financially protected when they are actually one disaster away from total collapse. I have spent years witnessing people get blindsided by crises that their supposedly sufficient financial buffers simply could not handle. If you believe your savings cushion is shielding you, or if you want to understand why the old guidance on financial reserves is dangerously obsolete, you need to hear what I am about to share. Here is what virtually everyone still accepts as truth. Set aside 3 to 6 months of living costs in a high-yield account, and you are covered. That guidance made sense 15 years ago. It is meaningless in 2026. The price of crises has skyrocketed, the frequency of setbacks has increased, and the nature of what people actually face today is fundamentally different from what that traditional formula was ever designed to handle. Consider Jennifer. She is 29, earns $72,000 annually, and did everything correctly according to standard guidance. Monthly outgoings around $4,000, so she accumulated $18,000 as a 6-month cushion. She felt genuinely confident. Then her employer eliminated her entire department. She was not alarmed at first because she had that $18,000 buffer. 6 months seemed more than adequate. Here is what reality delivered. Month 1, unemployment provided $1,800 monthly. Her outgoings remained $4,000. She withdrew $2,200. Balance $15,800. Month 2, still searching in a brutal market, she traveled for an interview costing $800 and did not get the role. Another $2,200 withdrawn. Balance $12,800. Month 3, her vehicle required a $2,800 repair. Between the repair and regular outgoings, she withdrew $5,000. Balance $7,800. Month 4, she finally received a job offer requiring relocation. Security deposit, moving costs, travel expenses totaled $6,000. Her reserve collapsed to $1,800 before she even began her new role. She was forced onto credit card debt. She believed 6 months would provide adequate coverage. Her financial buffer lasted precisely 4 months. And that assumes nothing else went sideways. No health emergencies, no dental crises, just a job loss, a vehicle repair, and relocation costs. She began her new role carrying debt and a depleted reserve, more financially exposed than before the crisis began. This is the reality of financial emergencies in 2026. They carry a heavier price tag, they surface more frequently, and they compound upon each other in ways the traditional formula never anticipated. Vehicle repairs that once ran $800 now easily reach $2,000 because modern cars require specialized diagnostic technology. Medical emergencies with insurance can generate $3,000 to $5,000 in out-of-pocket costs. Dental emergencies run $2,000 per tooth. Home repairs can reach $30,000. The conventional guidance assumed crises would cost $1,000 to $2,000. In 2026, a single crisis can consume 20 to 30% of your entire reserve, even if you save the recommended amount. Here is another critical flaw. When you lose your position, your living costs do not decrease to match your reduced income. They frequently increase, driving more for interviews, investing in credentials, potential relocation. Jennifer's actual expenditure climbed closer to $5,000 monthly once the crisis materialized, not the $4,000 her budget reflected. Her 6-month reserve, based on $4,000 months, should have provided $24,000 of runway. With actual crisis spending, the funds ran out in 4 months. Now consider the most significant shift that conventional guidance never anticipated. Recovering from job loss takes considerably longer than it once did. The average job search in 2026 runs 4 to 8 months for professional positions. If the average search consumes 6 months, possessing 6 months of living costs means running out of funds precisely when you are most likely to secure a position, but before your first paycheck arrives. You land a role in month 6, but your first payment does not arrive until month 7. Your reserve is exhausted and you are accumulating debt to bridge that final month. There is also what I call financial buffer erosion that nobody discusses. Your reserve is being gradually undermined by inflation, even while it sits in your account. High-yield savings might generate 4%. Inflation runs 5 to 6% for goods people actually purchase. Your buffer loses 1 to 2% of purchasing power every year simply by existing. That $18,000 Jennifer saved carried the purchasing power of perhaps $16,500 by the time she needed it. Now consider the self-employed. If you are a freelancer or independent contractor, the conventional guidance is even more dangerously inadequate. Consider Marcus, a freelance designer generating $90,000 annually. He accumulated $36,000, feeling confident about exceeding the conventional recommendation. Then, his 2 largest clients, representing 60% of his revenue, both terminated their arrangements within weeks of each other. His monthly income collapsed from $7,500 to $3,000, while outgoings remained $5,500. He burned through $27,000 of his reserve before rebuilding his client base. He barely survived a completely predictable and routine freelance crisis. So what is the genuinely appropriate size for a financial buffer in 2026? Not 3 months, not 6 months. For most people, the minimum target needs to be 12 months of living costs. 12 months accommodates the extended job search timeline, accounts for elevated crisis costs, and provides cushion for inflation erosion. Here is the framework. Start with 12 months of current living costs as your foundation. Add 3 months if you work in a volatile sector. Add 3 months if you own property. Add 3 months if you have dependents. Add 3 months if you carry chronic health conditions. Add 3 months if you are self-employed. Add 6 months if you are the sole income provider for your household. Yes, this requires more accumulated funds. Yes, you sacrifice some investment growth on that portion. But accumulating debt because your cushion was insufficient when a genuine crisis arrived costs far more than accepting lower returns on your reserve. Jennifer eventually rebuilt her financial life. She now maintains $55,000 in her financial buffer. Her peers think she's being excessively cautious. She understands she is being realistic because she lived through the direct consequences of an undersized cushion. We are navigating an increasingly unstable economic landscape. Employment security is lower than it has been in decades. Industries are being disrupted rapidly. Healthcare costs keep rising faster than wages. The guidance from a decade ago was conceived for a considerably more stable world. Your financial buffer needs to reflect current reality. Stop following the 3 to 6 month formula. Calculate what 12 months of your actual living costs represents. Layer in additional months based on your specific risk profile. Begin building toward that figure with genuine commitment. Your financial buffer is not undersized because you are inadequate at accumulating wealth. It is undersized because you followed guidance that is dangerously obsolete for the world we actually inhabit today.